This little four-wheel drive behind me really doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give it one anyway. It is, of course, the Suzuki Jimny, and people just can't get enough of the thing. Demand in Australia has been through the roof, and Suzuki is working very hard to get through that backlog of orders. Now, a new Jimny, manual or auto, will set you back an extra $2,000 than what you would have paid for one last year. Still very cheap, but is it worth your consideration? Well, that's what we're here to find out. If you're after even more details on the Jimny, read my full review at the CarsGuide website. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, hit like, share it with your mates, and make sure you hit subscribe to stay up to date with all of our reviews. The Jimny is available in one spec only, but with the option of a 5-speed manual gearbox or a 4-speed automatic transmission. I'm driving the manual. It has a 1.5 litre petrol engine, 4 seats, and a bunch of cool stuff for such a cheap little off-roader, like auto emergency braking, a 7-inch multimedia touchscreen, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a reversing camera and more. In terms of dimensions, the Jimny is 3,645mm long with a 2,250mm wheelbase. It is 1,645mm wide and 1,725mm high. It has a listed curb weight of 1,095 kilograms. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out just with a quick look back here that there's not a lot of room. You're going to fit a couple of day packs, maybe a smallish backpack, first aid kit, a few other bits and pieces, but not a lot else. It's going to take some creative packing to squeeze your gear in if there's any more than 2 people going on a short sort of weekend away or even a day trip. Let's check out the back seat. So it's small, we all know that, but how difficult is it to get into? Lucky I do yoga because I can sort of get in pretty much. Van Damme, eat your heart out. Should have done the splits there. There's not a lot back here. There's not a lot in terms of anything. You don't have anything. You've got seats. They're pretty sort of flat and unsupportive, but they're okay to spend a little bit of time in. They're cloth, and there's not a lot else. You might be able to steal the driver and the front seat passengers cup holders if you're a little bit cheeky, because you don't get your own back here. There's a decent amount of headroom, decent amount of shoulder room, as long as there's not 2 buffy blokes in the back. But beyond that, it's pretty basic and pretty Spartan. Fine by me, but some people might have a problem with it. So up front, it's a lot better than back there. I prefer to drive than spend any time in the back seat if you're getting that distinct impression. The build quality feels exceptional in the Jimny. Everything is well laid out. Everything feels well put together. It's all built for off-roading and living the outdoors lifestyle. The dials and the knobs and the buttons are big and chunky, so you can press them and operate them on the fly. The surfaces are all nice and hard and durable. You've got grab handles up front. You've got storage space. There's not a lot. I mean, you've got a pretty narrow glove box. You've got a little sort of spot here for bits and pieces, and in between the driver and front seat passenger cup holders. All up, it's a pretty adventure-ready cabin. You don't mind bringing muddy boots in. You don't mind sort of scuffing things and really living life, because this thing is built for it. So on road, the Jimny is not as diabolical as you might imagine. It's small and it's light. There's not much to it, so it does get buffeted around on the road. Steering's pretty light. It's not too bad. There's not a lot of power in the engine. It's quite underpowered, and it doesn't go well on the highway. But overall, it's all right. It's got plenty of zip around town, and zip and that cheekiness, that Jimny cheekiness, comes in real handy when you get onto the off-road stuff. Now, the Jimny is so much fun off-road, it should be illegal. It's just really easy to have lots of fun. You got to be aware though, you do get bounced around because you are in a small and light 4-wheel drive. Again, there's not a lot to it, but it really comes into its own in the off-road stuff. Now, the Jimny doesn't have diff locks, but what it does have is a traction control system called All Grip. And it's not too bad. We're on highway tyres, remember. We'll give this hill a crack and it does it easy. I have dropped the tyre pressures down to about 18 or so, but the Jimny it's just so light, so nimble. You know where the wheels are all the time. You know where you point it, you can shoot it, you can drive it, and it just is a fun little thing to steer around. But on steep hills though, the hill descent control is not quite as controlled as you really want it to be. It's not as aggressive, it doesn't bite as hard, and it doesn't slow you down as much. Probably keeps your speed to about 5 k's an hour, which is not ideal. And that's a factor when you get on short, steep hills with sharp crests and you've got to tip over the edge of them, because 5 k's, it's far too high a speed. It feels like you're going to run away. I'll just show you. That's 5 k's. You can hear it biting just towards the end there. Again, it's not outrageous, but it's just a little bit too fast for steep hills. Well, it is very capable. There are a few trade-offs though, and that is you do get bounced around, because again, it's a small light four-wheel drive, but that's part of the fun, I reckon. That's part of that sort of dialed into the ground sensation that every true four-wheel driver really loves, and you get that in spades in this thing. The Jimny is one of the few sort of straight out of the showroom four-wheel drives that you can take out into hardcore off-roading territory and be pretty confident that it's going to get the job done. You do have to keep the revs up in the Jimny. You've got to keep the foot down, the wheel spinning, just to get that traction control system to kick in, but it all works fine. If you are thinking about turning your Jimny into a bit of an off-road tourer, throw some all-terrains on it, because they will really do it a big favour. These road biased tyres on as standard are just not up to the job, and all-terrains will help you out a whole hell of a lot. And also think about suspension. I mean, you don't want to go overboard, but all the time the aftermarket is coming up with plenty of accessories and plenty of aftermarket gear to further boost your Jimny in readiness for your four-wheel driving adventures, so make the most of those mobs too. It can get a bit noisy because, like I said, you really do have to keep the revs up to get up and over more serious stuff, but that's not too intrusive, and again, it's part of the all-round experience, I reckon. If that sort of stuff is going to bother you, then the Jimny is not your thing. If it isn't going to bother you, then you are going to have a barrel of fun in this thing. It really is a good time. Payload is 340 kilograms, and the Jimny has claimed towing capacities of 350 kilograms, that's unbraked, and 1,300 kilograms, and that's braked. All Jimnys have a 3-star NCAP safety rating from testing in January 2019. It has 6 airbags, AEB, lane departure warning, hill descent control, a reversing camera, and more. The Jimny has a 40-litre fuel tank, and this manual version has a claimed fuel consumption of 6.4 litres per 100 kilometres. I recorded an on-test actual fuel consumption of 8.9 litres per 100 kilometres, and that included a lot of low-range four-wheel driving. Every Jimny now has a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, rather than the previous 5-year 140,000 kilometre warranty. The Jimny is a very effective off-roader. It's very capable and it's easy to drive on the beach or in the bush, but it's far from practical in terms of cargo space, creature comforts, and it lags behind others in terms of safety. But that's not the point with the Jimny, it's the fun factor, and it's that element of fun and dialed-in driver joy that will keep people coming back to the Jimny. What do you reckon? Would you have a crack at this thing? Tell us in the comments section below. If If you want to see the Jimny in even more action, why don't you watch some of our comparison videos or single vehicle tests on the CarsGuide website or on YouTube.